you're going to know in the first 5 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, is this a business that I'm going to stick around at long term?
What are they thinking about me? Because I'm interviewing them, but they're also looking at me as, is this a company that I want to work for?
When you have the dream applicant, you don't know you have the dream applicant until you've gone through the process.
Right seat assessment, you plug it in, you get the benefits of understanding more about the individual that you're going to hire to hopefully make a better choice who you hire for that position. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Patrick Carr Show. I got a real special treat here for you today. Everybody who owns a business, you know you got to be able to hire people, all right? You got to be able to hire great talent if you want to grow and scale. A lot of AI out there, but people still buy from people. Luckily for you, I got a recruitment hiring specialist. My friend Michael Gogan's with me today, and he's going to be talking about the things you need to know in the new world of recruitment and why HireBus is changing the way that people do business. Stick around for this one. And here we go. What's going on, Michael? Thank you very much for being with me today, brother.
Absolutely, Patrick. I appreciate the opportunity.
Man, it's been a while. We ran into each other where? At IRE, was it a couple months back?
Yeah. I'd kind of been off the show scene for about 18 months there. Had built a team when I was at Company Cam and hadn't been out there. And yeah, we bumped into each other at IRE. Show was massive, so it was a quick conversation, but yeah.
Well, it's good to be able to catch up with you about this HireBus thing. We'll get into what you do and what you've done, the Company Cam, all that stuff with a little bit of the history later. But I want to talk about recruitment hiring right away, because this is something that you're an expert in. You are seeing it across the country every day with HireBus. Right off the bat, man, big mistake companies are making in the world of hiring and recruitment.
Yeah, there's a few. I would say the biggest one, though, is you hear conversations all the time where companies talk about how we're going to go from 2 to 4 million, or we did 3 million last year, we're going to do 8 million this year. I mean, that is just the standard conversation, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's awesome. And I've been there, not as a blue collar contractor, but I owned a donut company, and we did a lot of wholesale contracts. And so, I was going to go from X number of donuts a day to X number of donuts a day. And I fell into the same problem that all of these blue collar contractors are falling into, is I'm mapping out the amount of money and the number of sales, but I'm not thinking about when do I need to hire. And I generally get to the point of I need to hire when something's on fire, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I've got 16 projects going at a time. I'm on my pace to go and get the numbers that I wanted to get, but I haven't even started looking for a second project manager. Or, maybe I'm running all of these marketing leads and I'm doing great and I'm building there, and I don't have enough sales reps. And you see it a lot with storm areas where, they wait for the storm to hit and then they go and get this large recruiting class to go out and canvas and sell, and they don't stick around. And so I think the biggest issue that these contractors are running into, or just businesses in general, they're not mapping out their hiring. We use a line of build a bench of talent. You need to be building a bench of talent so that when you do need to go and sub somebody into the game, they're quality versus warm bodies. And those warm bodies are the worst, because that's just lost revenue. If I'm sending a warm body out and they're closing at half of what a average sales rep, or a third of what my best sales reps are selling at, that's just wasted potential revenue. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is not being proactive in the hiring. And another big one is, and I think they go hand in hand, not having a solid onboarding process for that. And what if you think about it, you as an employee, you're going to know in the first 5 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, is this a business that I'm going to stick around at long term? You're making that decision pretty darn quick. That first day you walk in, what is it like? And if I don't have a clear onboarding process, I don't have any training, I just kind of turn them to the wolves, that's not good. And that just goes in, magnifies that problem of, hey, I haven't been proactively hiring. I've been reactively hiring. And I don't have great onboarding. So I'm turning people over. And it's just cyclical where it's like, oh, I'm turning them over. I've been reactively hiring. I'm getting warm bodies in. I can't find anybody. And we're in a very competitive job market right now. There's hundreds of thousands of blue collar jobs open right now today. And so, not competing to go get, human talent like you compete to go get new sales, I think is really a problem for these contractors.
What you're saying is resonating with me a lot right now. Just yesterday, Michael, you didn't know this, but we're hiring for a couple positions here, a marketing director for our company, and then as well for an outside shooter to go out and film content. And yesterday, the second interview that we had, for whatever reason, this room was being used by one of our videographers, and we needed this room, which is like our podcast room. It's a great room for an interview because it kind of shows cameras and tech and what we do here, right? And the person arrives, they're waiting out there in the lobby, yet we are trying to rush around and move cameras around and get somebody out of here and move them in. And even though for me or for them, it probably wasn't a terrible experience, for me, I was thinking about exactly what you're talking about. Like, what are they thinking about me? Because I'm interviewing them, but they're also looking at me as, is this a company that I want to work for? Is this a business that I want to be a part of and hang my hat here?
Absolutely. I love that. I mean, you're obviously very forward thinking and even thinking about it like that because, and we kind of talked about this offline a little bit, I use a fishing analogy, and it's kind of the inverse of fishing. You go into a pond. I'm from Nebraska, so I'm not doing a lot of ocean fishing here, but I go and fish in a pond. The fish that I want to catch are the smart ones, the ones that are not, biting most hooks, the ones that know exactly what they're eating, and they're staying in the pond, not getting hooked. Well, it's the flip of that in terms of hiring. You want to catch the people that every single other person wants to catch. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to get the last fish in the pond, because the last fish in the pond probably will jump at an opportunity. They're probably going to say, hey, I've applied at 10 places. You're the first one that's made me a job offer. I'm in. Sign me up. You want the ones that are, like you said, doing their homework, that are digging in on your business, looking at your social media to see, hey, can I get a feel for what it's like to work here? They're doing their homework actively. They're asking questions. They're coming in. Like you said, they're interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them. And if you put them through a great experience, you're going to have a leg up on, your competition when it comes to that. And it's no different than, roofing is a space we both know very well.
Sure.
If you get that dream lead as a roofing contractor, how on top of it are you? You're replying right away. You're nurturing. You're rolling out the red carpet to go get that sale. When you have the dream applicant, you don't know you have the dream applicant until you've gone through the process. But when you have that dream applicant, are you rolling out the red carpet the same way? That's a big piece. Like, I would challenge every contractor to think that. Like, is my speed to lead the same as my speed to candidate? If they're not, I probably have a problem. And like, I almost guarantee you, most people are like, speed to lead, I'm instant or near instant. I've got all these automations. Speed to candidate, yeah, we usually get back to them within 24 or 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what happens in that 20? Remember, the ones you want to catch, they have options. The ones you want to hire can go get jobs elsewhere. The ones that you're going to be pulling your hair out saying, oh man, why did I hire this person? Those are the ones that don't have a lot of options.
Man, it's ringing true with me what you're saying, because for a while I didn't have any standards, as I call them, in my hiring process. And it was unfair, in my opinion, to people that were coming in here to apply for a position. Now, the reason is because I surely had standards for them that I was looking for them to meet. But then, well, what standards was I meeting on my end? It seemed very hypocritical of me to expect this, and this from them, But here I am on my end. I'm like, well, okay, but they have to wait 5 minutes for me to get over there. I'll be there as soon as I finish up this call, blah, blah, blah. And so one of the things that I changed, now this maybe is something people do or maybe they don't, but anytime an applicant comes in to apply at Blue Collar Media Group, I will call them or a member of my team will call them with a decision. I tell applicants this: if you're going to take the time to leave your job, to come over here, to drive, to spend your money, your whatever, then you at least deserve a phone call from us about if you got the position or not. You deserve the opportunity to ask us questions. You deserve the opportunity to yell at us and say we made the wrong decision. I don't care. If you come out here and you show us respect and we make a decision not to move forward with you, I think that you deserve a phone call. That's a standard now that we have set here in this company. And it might seem small, but I think that genuinely people are normally surprised that we ever touch base with them.
Yeah.
But then I think it sets a standard for everybody else in our company when they see that we make the difficult calls and the difficult conversations.
Yeah, well, and I love that. And I would say any sort of, I mean, even if it's just email, like make it a personable email versus just you can tell if it's generic canned emails. I love the phone call, and here's why. There's some that are just no's.
Sure.
But if you do your process well to where you're sifting through the junk before they get to that interview stage in person or however you conduct it, Zoom, whatever, that means they showed something that they're decent. And I guarantee everyone that's listening right now has had, it's kind of like a 1A, 1B type of scenario here. Well, if I hire 1A and like you said, I show respect and I have a great call with 1B, maybe 1B still stays on that bench of talent, like what an awesome thing. Hey, Patrick, really appreciated your time for this interview process. We were really impressed by, your resume, how you interviewed. We had a lot of great applicants, and right now we only have room for, however you phrase it. I would love though to keep you on my list. We hire frequently. I'd love to keep you on my list and, reach back out down the road. However you phrase it, you can phrase it as like, we actually already filled the role, whatever, but keep them on the bench of talent if they were that 1B or right there where you're like, man, because we've all been there where we had that kind of tough decision. Is it this one or is it this one?
Yeah.
And that respect that you're talking about goes a long ways.
It does. And let's take the roofing space for any blue collar, I don't know, let's say door to door or a storm chaser or any business where that sales rep might go or that marketing specialist or that production manager might go to a different company. Inevitably, they may be in front of a potential customer of yours where their business is not the right fit. I think the best example is a door to door guy. He's going to be standing in front of that customer and they may say, you know what, I'm thinking about going with Patrick Carr Roofing. It's between you and them. If they interviewed over there with you and they had a terrible experience, they may tell that person the personal experience that they had with you, and they may be truthful in telling them that. But if they had a positive, you know what, I interviewed over there. That's a good company. It wasn't a right fit for me, but you know what, they were respectful of me, and I think you're going to get a great service regardless of who you go to. And you never know where that person might end up, and you run into them in some way 2 years down the road. You just never know.
Absolutely. And like you said, how long does that take? It's really not a matter of time. It truly is, Patrick. We avoid tough conversations, and that's what that boils down to oftentimes is, well, if I have to call them, that's not a fun conversation. So I just won't. I'll send a canned email response, or I won't even communicate at all. But like you said, yeah, that phone call goes a long ways, and I promise it's going to pay off, especially in the blue collar trades. Like,
Yes.
It's going to pay off. If you do that, you're going to end up hiring one of those people down the road, or you're going to get, like you said, good reviews. Something positive will come from that phone call.
Now, Michael, I'm sure that people want to know, you've got a lot of information about hiring, recruitment, the good, the bad, the ugly. You're working with a company, HireBus, right now. It's not currently, I would say, a household name, okay? Like Indeed might be right now.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing over at HireBus and why it's special for small business owners to know about this service?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were born for the trades, or born out of necessity in the trades. Our CEO is from the concrete coating space. He son of a entrepreneur in the blue collar trades. And what we realized, and this was pre me, so I guess what he realized was there's so many good assessment tools out there, traits assessments, behavior assessments, but none that were specifically built for the trades. And so that's where HireBus started. Was he partnered with a trades-based assessment that's been around for 30 years, had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of data points. And he said, I want to take these data points and I want to take my knowledge of the blue collar trades and I want to build benchmarks out for inside sales reps, production managers, laborers, office managers. And if you think and this isn't a knock against any of the trades-based assessments, behavior assessments out there, there's a ton of great ones, but they're not spitting out a score that says Patrick Carr is going to be an 8 out of 10 on outside sales. And that is where that is kind of our core, is our right, we call it the right seat assessment, hence the name of the bus. So we spit out a right seat assessment score for trades-based roles. Now that is a portion of what we do. And then you tell us where you want us to plug in from there. If you say, Michael, I love posting job ads, I love spending on Indeed and LinkedIn and Facebook, I want to go through resumes, I want to use your right seat assessment, I want to do phone screens, I want to do final interviews. So basically you're saying, I just want to use your right seat assessment. They can use we have an AI resume analysis tool to save them some time. We have AI interview questions, but realistically they're doing the whole process themselves. Mm-hmm. And they're plugging our software in to make that a little more efficient. That's one route. A lot of times people maybe start there and they say, man, Michael, if I never had to touch a resume again, that would be amazing. Or even maybe bigger, if I didn't have to chase down phone screen calls or, those kind of things, that would be perfect. And if that's the case, then we go one of two routes over here. We either say, Patrick, what do you need to hire? Well, I just need one production manager. We give you the price. We have a 60-day guarantee on that hire. All you do are interviews at the final end. So, and the beautiful thing is our software is getting rid of so many bad, candidates throughout, that you're not having to do nearly as many interviews to find that production manager. Our goal is that you're doing, maybe roughly 3 interviews per hire. So if you say, I just need a production manager, no problem. Here you go. We're going to take care of all the ad spend. We're going to take care of writing that job description, build you a careers page. We're going to make sure they take that assessment. We're just going to get you 3 amazing candidates to interview. You don't like those 3, we're back at it. Maybe you hire one and that day 57, it doesn't work out. Boom, you let us know, we're back at it, because it has that 60-day guarantee. And then the other would be, these companies that are thinking ahead and saying, hey, I always need to be hiring sales reps. I always should be hiring production people. We do what we call fractional recruiter. And with that, we're not guaranteeing a number of hires. We're going to say, hey, on average at this, plan, you're going to get X number of interviews per month. Is that kind of what you're looking for? And we can back it. We reverse engineer. They're like, if I want to hire 2 sales reps a month. Perfect. You're going to probably want to be on this package. And then the beautiful thing is we just run those ads and we're constantly filling your calendar with high quality candidates to be interviewing. Month over month, you don't do anything. Maybe you get to where you're like, man, I'm full on sales reps. I really am. I don't have the lead volume. No worries. We'll start building a bench of talent, or we'll flip it over to maybe you need to look for some production people at that point or whatever. We can move things around. But, really there's 2 options. Do you want to DIY your hiring and just plug our software in to make it more efficient? Or if you never had to touch a resume or do a phone screen again, would that be ideal? And a lot of times that's where people are like, yeah, I don't ever need to touch a resume again. Let's go.
Got it. So right seat assessment, you plug it in, you get the benefits of understanding more about the individual that you're going to hire to hopefully make a better choice in who you hire for that position.
Yep.
Because I think like when I think about that, or I think about what you all are doing with that right seat assessment, I think about the people that I've hired for, let's say, from my world, a photography position, when maybe they were better for a videographer position. They were better with video. And I just assumed that photo was going to be their thing because that's what they applied for. But with the right seat assessment, I might have been able to see video was where I should be pushing this person based on what you all are seeing in your data points that I'm not seeing on mine. That's a video example, but I'm trying to relate it back to myself right here in a way so I understand it.
100%. No, you hit the nail on the head. It's,
okay.
We've got certain things in like outside sales. We do the traits assessment scores you on 21 different traits. Outside sales, there's 5 key traits that we're looking at. So of those 21, we're not looking at all 21 on an outside sales rep. We've got 5 that we're looking at, and they may score low on a few of those. But when you look at it and you see, oh, they scored low there, but they actually scored extremely well on inside sales. And, we will help you with all those definitions. Inside sales is the more relationship building, the slower paced. I would argue our inside sales benchmark is perfect for commercial and multifamily and those that are going to require some networking and some time. You're not closing a big commercial deal overnight. Like those take time. And so we can help you with all that. And the other thing that you mentioned there where like you've made the hire and you're like, man, I love this person. They're dedicated. They're hardworking. It's just not working well. You can take that assessment tool and you can have your entire current team take the assessment. Oh, wow. So you can see, hey, how is my current team score? And I always put a little asterisk, don't just go make a bunch of fires because like, hey, I'm going to fire these people because they didn't score well. Because a lot of times maybe they've flexed into traits because of what the job requires, if that makes sense. They've been there long enough to know like, hey, I'm not super outgoing and I don't really like knocking doors. It's not my superpower, but I also want to put food on the table. So I'm going to find a way to go knock doors, so there is that ability to flex in and out of traits, but it gives you some great visibility. And, another thing, how often do you have 2 like really solid performers that maybe butt heads? A lot of times I think it's a production manager and a sales rep or a sales manager and your top sales rep. We can actually use our comparison conflict tool in HireBus, and they can actually go and see how do these 2 people compare? Where are they maybe going to have areas that, it's called conflict, but where do they need to be aware that, hey, you guys are different here or you're the same here? And a great example of that is, you're hyper aggressive, you're outgoing, those kind of traits where it's just like, hey, I'm just going to grind. Endurance, some of those traits that are like, how high is my endurance? 2 people that are extremely high in endurance working together, guess what they could potentially lead to? Burnout, because neither one of them knows how to pump the brakes. But if they know that and they both know, hey, me as the sales manager, I'm all gas. My top sales rep, he's all gas. When I'm managing him, I've got to be thinking, hey, it's Friday. Maybe take off at 3 and go spend some time with your family. Not because you can't go sell for a couple more hours, but because I need them back Monday morning refreshed, ready to go. And so, just things like that you can use the software for to hopefully make your current employees more efficient, happier, able to stick around.
So then who are your clients? Because I think of something like Indeed, which I'm used to using in the video world that I'm in, but contractors use Indeed as well. I think they have 2 clients on that side. They have the individual who puts in the resume, who may pay to be on Indeed because they want the opportunity to reach employers who want them to hire. But then you also, as a company, I get charged by Indeed. So are you only for the contractor out there, or do you have applicants that are coming to HireBus at this time so that you can give them a score and place them with the right position?
Oh man, that's an awesome question. I'm going to break it down into two pieces. So first thing, we aren't a full-fledged job board yet. So, and I'll get to that here in the second part of this question. We're not a full-fledged job board. What we are is we are a software that uses a ton of data points, and we're going to use the existing job boards. We're going to use LinkedIn. We're going to help you strategize on what you should be doing from a social perspective to make your brand a place where people want to come and work. So we're leveraging those job boards just like you as a contractor would. The beautiful thing is we have hundreds, if not thousands, of job ads running at any given time. So our data is so much deeper in terms of us being able to know what works, what doesn't work. How do I position this role? How do I, what title do I give this, or description do I give this role? Where do I put my ad spend? So we're really good there. So, from a contractor's perspective, we're going to go and make, X number of dollars on Indeed or on LinkedIn or whatever. We're going to make it go a lot further just because we have so much more data than they do. Same with Facebook ads, or Google ads. If you don't know what you're doing, it's really easy to light money on fire there. Now, your second part of your question is around, is this essentially a job board for me as a blue collar trades worker? And it's coming. That's one of the things we're building, is where, right now you own the candidates as the business. So we're out there hiring, representing blue collar media or whatever. We're representing our client. But yeah, the day will come where not only will we hire for you as the contractor, but if XYZ roofer wants to join this and take the HireBus assessment and see what role should I be doing, they can take that, and then we'll have a kind of an applicant pool there that we can start moving around for our clients. So yeah, that day is definitely coming.
Now, I've heard you use the word then, Michael, ads a few different times here. We're talking about LinkedIn or Indeed. There are ads that get put out there, content that people use in order to recruit. Is HireBus creating its own content? Because I'm a content guy, so I got to ask this.
Yeah.
Is HireBus creating its own content for the contractor to attract applicants, or are they using their own content? Are you working with them to be able to do that? Do you know what works for a production manager to put on an ad? I'm just curious how you're able, where you all stand on that, because you've got to be able to recruit, or you wouldn't be in business, because people could do it just as well as you do. So you've got to do something better than others do.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think, when it comes down to the content, we have a lot of really good, examples and strategies, those kind of things that we can share with our clients. But I mean, it's why HireBus and Blue Collar are such a good partnership, because when our clients come to us and they say, Michael, I don't have employee or careers video or employer brand video. Those are we usually call it one of those two things, your careers video or an employer brand video. I don't know what the heck that is. I got a picture or two of me up on a roof. I've got a selfie video or two talking about how we're replacing a roof or whatever it is. And so we also have to have great partners like yourself that we can say, hey, we're only so good. And that's why we partner so closely with a lot of coaching organizations, because if your business isn't a good business and you don't, like we had talked about in the very first question you asked, if you don't onboard, train, and retain people well, it doesn't matter what I do from HireBus perspective. I can give you the best of the best. Every single time I can give you the best rep. And if you aren't a good business, they're going to fizzle out. And the same is true for that employer brand and those videos, those kind of things. If you don't have anything for us to go and, kind of dazzle or wow people, it's really difficult for us to do our job. And that's why on that fractional recruiter piece, we don't promise you number of hires. We talk about how many interviews on average you're going to get, because I could have two clients in the same city and I can go and hire for both of them. But if one has a great brand and they're out there and recognizable and one is unknown, Well, guess what? It's a lot easier for me to hire for the one that everybody recognizes and knows than it is, the other one. And so that, to answer your question, we can give some strategies and suggestions on content. And like, all contractors are in some, it's some sort of, where are they at in their content journey that I'm at 1 or I'm at 99. I'm nearly perfect. The ones that are new or struggling with it, but want to get there, that's where we're pointing them to people like yourself and say, hey, go talk to our friends at Blue Collar Media, go get 3 videos made, but make sure one of them is a careers video because that's going to go a long ways.
Yeah, when people come to us, Michael, I'm sure you can imagine they oftentimes want lead generation content. They want to put butts in the seats on the sales side. But the best clients that we have are those that do invest in their culture, their brand, recruitment, their story. Because like you said earlier, the reverse of the fishing side, when you have somebody who's talented and is good at what they do, they're looking for a home that is, well, compatible with their level of skill and ability and talent. And when what you have online is before and after pictures, and Company Cam's a friend of ours, but come from Company Cam, you've shown them nothing that says, okay, these people are different. And like I say, it's easy to go after the low-hanging fruit of lead generation or the low-hanging fruit of a process video that you can show a customer on an iPad. But real companies that are building brands are thinking about recruitment, hiring, and how others from the outside are going to perceive their company before they ever step in front of you. I couldn't be more in agreement. We see it every single day here. We fight against it, in fact, for people to see this bigger picture of what it means to build a brand.
Yeah, and I mean, like having a beautiful careers video is important, very important. Like our CEO owns Wise Concrete Coatings. It's a franchise. You can go, look up on YouTube, work with Wise or work at Wise, and they've got a very solid careers video. And I think sometimes we get stuck in this like, well, that's amazing. I can't do that. And so instead of saying I'll get as close to that as I can today, we do nothing. And I think too, like I was on with Contractor Dynamics, a few days ago, and we were talking about when you do things as a team. I go to the ballpark as a team, or I go do this as a team. Take pictures of that, post that out on socials, tag your team on those photos or in those photos. And what's going to happen is you're going to start to get shares on those photos, and it's going to start to creep in. You're going to start to have this omnipresence, and it's going to benefit you both from a sales and a recruiting standpoint. So that's a big thing as well. Like when you think about like, hey, what am I doing from an employer brand perspective, and what am I doing from a place that people want to come and work? It's not just that. That's going to help you with sales as well. Like you said, people know rock stars, and when somebody says, "Oh, Patrick Carr just went to this company," that must be a pretty legit company. They must be pretty good. Maybe when I need new concrete coating, or maybe when I need a new HVAC unit, I'll give them a call. Or the flip of that, well, if Patrick's willing to go work there, maybe I should look into working there. So you can get both the sales generation and lead generation and the recruiting value out of those employer brand type of things as well. So it's not just like, oh, I'm not hiring, so I don't need to talk about how great it is to work here. No, like you should always be talking about that.
Michael, I've got a few questions for you on the personal side here. Because I want to turn it back a little bit to the actual recruitment, the interview, the process of it, getting the person-to-person stuff, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get somebody to an interview, a qualified person in front of the right company that are a great marriage and everybody wins and has a great partnership together, right?
Yep.
I want to know your opinion about something, because my team's been getting on to me about this. Truly. We're going through this process, and yesterday I had an applicant, and she said, boy, you know what? I've researched your company and I've watched your podcast, and wonderful. I love the research. Don't get me wrong. The first thing I thought, though, Michael, as a business owner, is I said, it ain't like that every day here. And afterwards I said, listen, I got to be honest with you. If you have the perception coming into this company that it's podcast and pictures and all the stuff behind the scenes that we do. And just every day is great. And we're just leadership and building, and there's nothing bad. You are going to be sorely disappointed in me and in this company, because although I try really hard online, there are many days that I am not approachable when I'm here. And I want you to understand that. And I think I do it too much, man. Like, I'm really trying to set almost kind of like this. I know what you're seeing online, but I know what it's like here every single day. And I'm trying to find this like balance, brother. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, but I'm really trying to give people realism, but also sell the dream at the same time.
Yeah. And I mean, anybody that's going to go work for you, like, I think they're going to love the leadership. They're going to love the culture, those kind of things. And this isn't like a, hey, this is exactly how you should do it. But my suggestion maybe for you would be get questions that you can ask of that candidate that's going to discover how they handle situations where the day's not perfect. The day's a little rocky. You got to roll your sleeves up, go get sweaty, get after it. Your boss was kind of a jerk, or wasn't approachable, as you put it, like, was stressed, whatever. I think that's where I would go with that is, hey, tell me about a time when your boss was super stressed and wasn't approachable and you didn't get as much face time as you need. And give me an example of that, how you handled it. And that, I think, is going to get you two things. One, it's going to get you, because if they say, hey, that's never happened to me, and they also told you, man, I love this place. It's the picture you paint online is beautiful. I'm here and I've never had any bumps in the road. Probably not a good situation. But if they say, man, Patrick, I excel in that, and here's why. I had a boss that way was frequently, we were always busy. We were always going. And what I would do is I would do X, Y, and Z to help us get through it. And my boss loved it, and it was good for me. So now you're seeing instead of saying, hey, this might not be rainbows and butterflies every day, because what are they going to say? Like, I don't want to work. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now at this point, but if you can have them give you examples, and then you can kind of sense, like, hey, are they going to be a fit here? Is this day-to-day crazy? Is that something that they're going to be able to handle? And I would honestly argue the inverse could be true as well. Like, I think back to my days at Company Cam, and there's, amazing place to work. I can't say enough good things about the company and the leadership, but it was a tech startup, and it was a very relaxed vibe. And there were people that would come in, and that wasn't the vibe that they were used to. They were used to knuckles on concrete from 8 to 5. And what is going on here? I got people over playing Nintendo Switch on their break, and so the inverse can be true, but I think asking questions of like, hey, tell me about a time, and then you can kind of get that sense of, is this person going to fit here? Or is it going to be, whoa, I wasn't expecting this, Patrick, I'm out.
Yeah, it's a great point. So true. Ask the questions instead of just telling all the statements. Yeah. Shut up, Patrick. Ask the questions. Don't try, let them tell you the answer. I want to have a final couple questions here for you. I think people are always interested to know, but from an applicant standpoint, you're dealing with people all the time. Your scores, you're seeing people come through, what's good, bad, and different. Can you give me something you see that applicants could do immediately that are out there to improve their chances of being hired by the right company, or just improve their opportunity to get in front of the right people? Maybe even a mistake you're seeing that they make, or something you think that will really help someone, a nugget, if you will?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you one, and this is the same. I'll give you a few, but the number one thing I would say is follow up. And I just got done saying how you, as the business owner, aren't doing a great job of communicating. You're not super timely. Your follow up isn't great, and not all, but a lot of businesses, it's like, I get an applicant on Friday, I might not get to them until Tuesday afternoon, and that's not great. But if if you've done your homework, which is obviously a huge piece, make sure you're doing your homework as an applicant, and you say, this is a place where I want to work here. I want an opportunity to work with these people. I think following up is a big piece. It's one thing to just put the application in, but following up, staying on top of things. And the worst it's going to do is it's going to expedite you to a not at this time answer. But if it gets you there faster, and if you truly need a job, like that's a good answer to get is like, hey, this isn't the one. Instead of holding out hope for 3 weeks and saying, shoot, now I'm back to square one. How am I going to feed my family type of thing? So I think following up is a big one. And I think the other thing is, just putting time and effort into, your interview process and whatever that looks like. So if you're going through the HireBus process, we're going to put you through a careers page application that we create with our clients. And there might be a video ask in there. There might be a paragraph or two asked, like that. They're all custom to whatever our clients want. And then the next step is putting you through that right seat assessment. And that right seat assessment takes between 5 and 10 minutes. And guess what happens if you take less than 4 minutes? You get a red exclamation point on your assessment that says this person took less than 4 minutes. And there's some roles that's not actually a bad thing. Outside sales, like it's not the worst. But what it does tell us is they didn't put as much time into this as most people do. Yeah. So it gives you that little red exclamation point. So I think, if it's a job you want, every step of the way, because I don't know what the steps look like in everybody's business, but put your best step forward. Make sure that did I take this assessment to the best of my ability? Yes, I did. Did I fill this out to the best of my ability? Yes, I did. Resumes are worth what the paper they're printed on. I get that. I understand that. But with AI and all the stuff you can do nowadays, make sure your resume has everything that you have done. Like, is it the most important thing in an application process? I'd be lying if I said it was. I don't think it is. But do you know what they think of it? Yep. Like, they might think it's the greatest thing ever. And here you are, turning into a half-done one or, very incomplete one. And so, like, any opportunity you have throughout the process, make sure they get your best and follow up. Like, it's okay to follow up.
We're with Michael Gogan right now with HireBus, and I've got one final question here for you, but I'm going to just tell you what I think on my end, because I think this works for me, Michael, but I'm not sure it worked for other people as far as what I'd like to see applicants do. Now, I'm going to preface this, brother, by saying that this month I plan on getting engaged. So she already knows about that. So I'm not breaking any kind of big, no big revealing thing here. I'm out of the dating world. But I saw this meme that came across, or a reel, something about the number one question or the number one sign that you could be with a psychopath or dating a psychopath before you ever get in a relationship with them. And it was the question like this. You ask the individual about their previous relationship and why it didn't work out. And if the person is willing to take accountability at some level initially for why it didn't work out, then you're with someone who can have some kind of empathy and understanding of other emotions, two sides to every story. Other individuals will just blame. It was them. It was the leads. It was a bad boss. Everything is their fault. And so when I'm in an interview and I ask that question about, well, tell me what you're doing here. You seem smart. You're great. What led you to be right here in front of us? When I hear negative, brother, all I think about is this person is not willing to take accountability for anything. And that's the kind of attitude they're going to bring into my business if things start to go wrong. Nothing's on them. It's going to be, you're the problem. This company, this excuse, this is the reason why it didn't work out. I think that person who's willing to look and to say, I had some fault, or there's things I could have done better, I think that takes a very powerful person. Now, I'm not sure most people that are hiring would see it that way. I don't know. But for me, that sticks out.
Yeah. So I just think too, like, again, back to the lines of questioning, like, one of my favorite questions is, tell me about your least favorite boss.
Oh man, that's great.
Tell me about your least favorite boss. And that's going to do a couple things for me. Like, that's going to give me a little bit of how, like, where's their level of negativity, but it's also going to tell me, like, how much have they dug deep themselves? Like, hey, they never gave me guidance. They never did this. They never did that. I don't love those answers. Hey, my least favorite boss was one XYZ. And, I know in my role, I have to be, seeking out answers, and I have to be doing these things. And even when I made attempts to get time on their calendar or to meet with them, they just didn't have time for me. And like, I don't need a ton of time, but like, you want to make sure you're rowing in the right direction. So there's just ways to answer or not even ways to answer. There's the answers you're looking for, but I think you're right. Like, hey, why should I hire you? That's a question I asked. That's the last question I ask in every interview I have ever done.
Mm.
Why you, Patrick? Why should I hire you? I've got a bunch of applicants here that I think are going to be very great and talented. Why should I hire you? But I also love your question of like, what didn't work out at your last job? Well, why do you think that was? And even just a little bit of accountability goes a long ways. Like, hey, even if they say, hey, I learned a lot.
Correct. Yeah.
I learned a lot. I thought XYZ, and when I got there, it wasn't those things, and I learned a lot, and no ill will against them, but it wasn't the right fit for me. And because to me, it wasn't the right fit for me. That's still a level of accountability where it's like, hey, I learned a lot. This is how they do things. That's not for me. And I'm not blaming, I'm not pointing like, oh, they're terrible leadership. There's all these things. I just needed more of this, or I needed more of that, or whatever. And so I love that question of, hey, what didn't work out? And I would ask that one fairly early. And then I would end with, why you? Well, why should I hire you? And if they can't articulate that, that's a really, really big red flag for me.
Yeah, so true, man. And as you're telling me that, I can't help but think this, and then I've got a final question for you about the state of the union across the country. But I've got some people that are leaving me right now. This will be their last day today as we do this interview. And I have to really look at myself sometimes, brother, and say that I think that the reason these people are leaving is because of me. And sometimes I think as business owners, if you're in a position to hire people, you can always tend to point the finger at them if they leave. But I think as important, if not more so, is to sometimes turn and look at yourself and go, maybe there were things that I didn't do right. Maybe I didn't create an environment that I promised them that I would do, or they thought they were going to get something better out of me that they didn't get. And I can't help but feel as though the people that are leaving me now, I didn't give them that. And I'm hoping that I can do better for the next people that I bring on, because call it a bad couple of months, call it personally some conflict within me. I hope that people will look at themselves when somebody quits or moves on, and you go, man, did I live up to the promises that I made this person in the interview and when they were onboarding with me? Or did I fall short as an individual? And with these two people, Michael, I fell short. And so I think it's a great lesson for me right now as we talk about this. That's what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, I mean, I love your introspective. That's deep. What I would say for you and for everyone listening, and this is again just my personal advice, so take it or leave it. But one promise that I make every single person that's ever worked underneath of me is, I'm going to make you a better employee at your next role than you are right now. I want to help you. I want to help you get to your next role, and I want to make sure you're better at that role than you would have been today. And then I caveat that with, that role might be on our team, that role may be at our company, but on a different team. That role may be at a different company. But at the end of the day, my goal is to make sure that you are better and get to where I want to know where you want to get, and I want to help get you there every single day. And those are promises that are so much easier to live up to, if that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, I would argue, Patrick, that, you're kind of beating yourself up on these two. You probably did some things along the way that's going to make them better at whatever they go do next. And leaving isn't necessarily always a bad thing. Like, I hear it all the time with the roofers, like, hey, my best sales rep, think they can go start up their own company. They have no idea. And there's a lot of truth to that statement. They probably don't have an idea. However, they wouldn't have the confidence to go do that if they weren't working for you. And so it's, there always are some positives. There's some silver linings. I guarantee you there's some silver linings in your situation. And I think just the fact you're like, man, I could have done better. That's a big silver lining right there, because you're going to learn and you're going to do it different the next time.
I hope so, man. I hope I'm learning. My final question here for you, man, is this: state of the union that you see across the country. When I think about roofing or the blue collar space, on the production side especially, man, we've heard the horror stories about people, being shipped back to other countries, not being able to find good talent. People who are my age and above will constantly say that people are lazy or don't want to get out there and grit it out in the hot sun or do the physical labor. Everybody wants to be the next YouTube star. I'm interested, because you're in this world every day. What is the state of the union of recruitment and hiring for the trades across the country?
I mean, it's competitive. It's competitive. And like you said, lots of reasons that, there's there's not enough people in the trades. That's plain and simple. There's more jobs open in the trades than we have labor to go and fill those jobs, whether it's sales, production managers, leadership, whatever it is. And one encouraging thing for me is everybody talks about AI and how AI is going to take over all these jobs and it's going to replace all these people. I think we're going to start to see a shift back, because, when you and I were kids, going and being a plumber or a tradesman wasn't what they were pushing us and telling us to go do. They said, you got to go to college, you got to get your 4-year degree, and you go get an office job. That's the path to success. And everything happens, and we as a country are going to adjust, and as a world we're going to adjust. We're a very smart species. I think you're going to start to see more people coming into the trades, because at the end of the day, we're a long ways away. Like, I don't care what people say, we're a long ways away from somebody coming in and looking at my toilet and taking my toilet out and putting it back. Robots aren't doing that anytime soon. I don't know that you and I will see robots coming into my house without a human being there, taking my toilet out and putting a new one in. We're a ways away from that.
Sure.
And people that are saying, hey, I want to work, they're going to go do that. And that's the thing is, these YouTube sensations and stars, they're doing that because there's money there. It's fun and enjoyable. And so it's like, hey, is there money in the trades? Yeah. Can we make it fun and enjoyable? Yeah. And I think those are the things that, we got to kind of work towards. But I'm a big believer it's never as good or as bad. Like, that's one of my favorite lines. It's never as good as it seems, and it's never as bad as it seems. We're somewhere in the middle, and, there are jobs. There's a lot of opportunities in the trades, and we're in a good spot at HireBus where, people need people, and that's what we do. And the only hard part is there's not a lot of people for us to go and fish. The ponds are fairly, fairly dry. We feel the pain too, but it's, I think it's going to come around. I think it'll be just fine. Like, I hate to be just the eternal optimist, but, the world was ending back in 2020 and we were never going to recover and, change some things, but change a lot of things for the better. And we're in that same spot. We might be in a little bit of a labor shortage. It's all gonna come back around. We'll figure it out. And that's what we do as humans.
Well, I think, man, one thing about you is everywhere that I've seen you, you've got a great reputation wherever you go. You're one of those people where you can walk into a trade show, a conference, and you can walk up to anybody. I don't think you have these bad relationships. You surely are a great person at doing that. And from the beginning, man, years back, I think we met at some point when maybe it was different. You were with a different company. You've always treated me with a lot of respect, even though you have more connections within the industry and more people and, that kind of stuff. And I've always appreciated that very much because you don't have to do that. Nobody does. But I appreciate you always being so kind. And what we will do is we'll put all of your information across the bottom. Is there any particular way that someone should get in touch with you if they're a contractor of ours who's interested in learning more about HireBus?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in, and I appreciate that compliment. And I don't know that I'm more connected, Patrick. You're a great networker as well, and I like to make people better. I want to leave things better than when I came. I gave out my personal email from day one at company cam, and I still do that. I still get emails and calls from people that are like, "Hey, help me with my company cam account." So my personal email, and you can throw that in there, is michael@hirebus.com. And if you want to just skip that step and you're like, "Hey, I want to do a demo of HireBus," it's just hirebus.com/blue collar, and they can come check it out. We'll know they came from this, and we'll take great care of them. But I'm an open book. Shoot me an email and say, "Michael, I just need job description help. Can you help me with that?" And I can send you a whole package on job descriptions we have, or whatever it is. If you have issues, concerns, problems with your business, shoot me an email. We'd love to jump on a call and chat through it with you and see if we can't help you out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Gogan, as I said from the beginning, recruitment, hiring specialist here, truly lives up to the word, brother. Thank you again for all the kind things you've done for me over the years. The referrals, the people, the introductions. It's truly not something that I forget. I always keep it in mind. So thank you very much for making the time today, brother.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Patrick.
Thank you. Until next time, everyone.